What's up, everybody? My name is Dell. This is Dell on Movies, and welcome to another exciting episode of Movie Swap. And tonight I have a uh, honored and distinguished guest in the building. And I say distinguished merely by his criterion guy for most of us, for a lot of us. And I am glad to have him here on my channel. I'm talking about none other than James 20th movie. Oh, and we're having some problems. There we go. All right. What's going on, James?
Hey, hey, what's
I,
going on, Dale? How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Having a good day so far.
So far, so good. Monday's off to a good start. Got a lot going on this week, but really, really excited, and I really do appreciate you having me on tonight. I love this series that you're doing. So it's a great idea. I love the concept, and just glad for the invite, and looking forward to talking about these movies. But yeah, so
Uh,
far it's been a great week so far. Starting off and looking forward to keeping it moving forward. I'm thinking, man, I got a little bit of I got a few things to pick up for this coming weekend in terms of all the mothers, in
Gotcha.
my
Yeah.
life. So, so I got
Don't
to
we
keep
all?
reminding myself, I don't want to get to Friday and
Yeah, we
not
all
have
got that,
taken
right?
care of business.
All right. So my first question is around what I said about you. For a lot of us in the chat here, myself included, you're the Criterion guy or one of the Criterion guys. For me, it's
Oh,
you and Elliot Cohen, and you're my main two go-tos for Criterion. So
okay.
lately, I know, I guess about 8 months to a year, somewhere in that ballpark area, you started getting into Arrow heavily. So
hmm
what brought on that transition, and how does that jive with the prestige of Criterion?
Yeah, I mean, last year I'm glad you asked that because last year I started getting into Arrow. I I I was intrigued by some of the titles they were putting out, like an American Werewolf in London, RoboCop. They put out Wild Things, Tenebrae, some really interesting titles, and so I started to get into them for the titles they were putting out, but also the packaging. I love
Mhm.
those limited edition 4K sets that they put out. They do a really good job with those, and the transfers are just absolutely fantastic. For pretty much, I think every release I've gotten, I've been pretty happy with, especially like Tenebrae Videodrome, which has a Criterion release, but
Mhm.
Arrow put a 4K out, and it is so nice. I mean, I really really enjoy it. So I got into Arrow last year because they had a really nice lineup. But I got to tell you, this year so far, I've been kind of waiting for Arrow to kind of pull me in. I
Right.
haven't really been too excited about what they've been putting out this year, but I am gonna pick up Mallrats. That's coming in, the Kevin Smith film. I've never seen it,
Okay.
so looking forward to checking that out. And I have my pre-order in for the Bruce Lee set. The Bruce Lee, they have like two versions of it, I think. So I put in
Mhm.
an order for that, as well as, oh goodness, there's another. It's escaping me. The other July release they have coming out that I have an order for. But yeah, this year has been a little bit slower for me than last year, but I wanted to branch out into more. Of course, I do a lot of Criterion content,
Right.
but I want to do some more boutique, label content. So last year started expanding into, more Arrow video, Kino Lorber. So Criterion, Kino, and Arrow are like my three main boutique labels that I cover, with Criterion being the primary one. But for me, the idea was just to branch out a little bit more beyond Criterion, and
Okay.
do some of the other studio labels. I've heard great things about Arrow, and last year they pulled me in, and I'm just waiting for them to reignite the fire in me for this year. So we'll see what the second half brings. Are you
Okay.
into Arrows releases?
I've not been keeping up with it as much as far as Arrow goes. Even Criterion, like I watch your content and I know what's coming out, but I'm not
Yep.
a first day buyer a lot.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, okay, when I'm ready to buy, I'll start combing the websites or going to the stores in case of Criterion, if providing they're still in stores in Barnes and Noble. Um,
Yep.
and then I'll kind of figure out what I want to do from there. I do
You're a
make a
smart man, Dell. You are a very smart man. first day buys
Yeah,
is hard on the pocketbook. You know, it's
it
definitely
is. It
wise to
is.
sort of sit back a little bit, let the sales come in.
Yeah, it is. So
You know,
yeah, I tend to do that. I mean, there are some things I get first day, don't get me wrong, but for
yeah,
the most part, especially with the boutique labels, it's like, if
wait for the
if
sale,
it'll be there in a couple months. And if it's not there, then well, it wasn't meant to
and so
be.
be
Maybe
it. You know,
yeah, or they'll re-release it or whatever the case is.
yep,
And yeah, I do kind of make a criterion wish list of a few things that I do want to get so that
yeah,
when I do make my list, I'm not just standing there combing the aisles for 3 or 4 hours trying to figure out what it is. But
yeah.
yeah, I tend to wait a little bit. So now, for a guy like me, who I just dabble in the boutique labels. I don't have a
Okay,
ton of them. Uh, I don't have hundreds of each one. I've got 20, 30 of a couple, Criterion, Arrow, something
for
like
sure.
that, and MVD and some others. So for guys like me, what would you say is the advantage? What would you tell us to kind of win us over, get us into more boutique uh, labels, buy into those boutique labels more?
Well, I think, for me, what I like about, specifically Criterion and some of the other boutique labels is, like just exposure to, some more obscure titles of cinema. So, of course, we have the mainstream titles that are coming out, current day, films that
Mhm.
everybody's, aware of. But I like to explore, films that if it wasn't for Criterion, I probably would never heard of, would probably never heard of the director, and just an opportunity to just learn more about film, about cinema, and just about filmmakers from around the world. And for me,
Okay.
it's more about film exploration. I mean, I'm into the mainstream movies as well. Like for example, Creed 3, which I haven't seen yet, or John Wick 4, which I need to see. I probably won't catch it in theaters. I'll probably catch it on physical. So I like the mainstream titles that are coming out now, but I like to, also get into the classics and, obscure cinema and really the area of film restoration with a lot of these films from the 30s and 40s and, older, getting a chance to get, restored, scanned into 2K resolution, 4K, put out on, quality, releases and, given new life to, audiences of today who if it wasn't for that restoration process, wouldn't have been exposed to these films. And that's what I like about Criterion and a lot of the boutique labels is just giving us exposure to some of those lesser known films that we might not have even heard of before. So it's
Okay.
really about the discovery of film for me.
Right, right. Okay. I like that answer. And
Yeah,
before we get into the movies we're going to talk about tonight, let's see who's hanging out with us.
yeah.
It
Who's
looks like
out
we
there?
we made it up to double digits here, which is always a good thing. Adrian, of course, was
Adrian.
first. He beat me. I was getting into the studio. Adrian was already here. So Adrian is a super
Yes,
trooper. He is the man.
he's always there. He's always there, man.
He is always there. He says hello to myself and you, of course. Was Johnny watching? He
Mr.
says hello,
Johnny.
cool kids. Johnny's in the building as well. He said gives us separate hellos. Hello to you first, and then hello to
Howdy,
me.
howdy.
How's it going?
Mr.
KB is here.
KB, the
He's looking
master of
forward to this.
conversations.
Yeah, he had an excellent
Yep.
conversation just a little while ago. I was watching a little earlier
Yep.
today, so
Hmm.
I'm glad he can join us this evening. We got some hellos
Yeah,
going
Johnny
back and
was over
forth.
there.
Yeah, Johnny was
Hello,
over
Film
there.
Addiction.
Film Addiction is here. What's up, Film Addiction? And we again, lots of people saying hi back and forth. And
Yeah.
Mika is here. Hey, Mika.
Mika, how are you doing,
So
Mika?
Mika, I'm gonna say this. She's been doing a lot of Jodie Foster on her Instagram. Her between her and Kira here
Hmm.
over the last week or two. Over the last, I think since May started. I think since the beginning of May, they've been kind of focusing in on Jodie Foster. So
Oh,
without
nice.
giving too much away, Mika, Jodie Foster is gonna appear here tonight. We're gonna
We
talk
got
a
you
little
covered,
bit about
Mika.
it. Got you covered. What Johnny says, James is my Criterion go-to guy on
Oh,
YouTube.
you're too kind, Johnny. You're too kind.
Absolutely. Johnny saying hi to Mika.
Mika.
And See Johnny and Bob is here.
Sir
What's going on,
Bob,
Bob?
the man.
Yeah, Bob is the man. Bob has a great video just went up today
Yeah,
also
I
talking about
saw that. I
villains.
haven't seen it yet. I need to watch it tonight. I'm gonna see that tonight.
I was watching it while I was setting up for this really good video.
The
So I
getting to
was,
know you kind of video. Yeah, I gotta watch
yeah,
that.
yeah, and I really appreciate it, Bob. It's a great video. Johnny says, "Love me some Tenebrae." I need to see it. I haven't seen it. I
Yeah,
have.
Ken over at Mid Level Media, of course, Mr. Ken, Kenny Level, the man.
Yeah, yeah.
He introduced me when I got into Arrow. He introduced me to Dario Argento
Hmm.
as well, and so I picked up Deep Red, loved it. Picked up Tenebrae. And Tenebrae was actually my favorite uh, release of the year last year.
Hmm.
Arrow, Criterion. It just is just a great film. I really, really, really dug it, and
Yeah.
it just looks amazing on that 4K. So I really enjoyed it.
I'm a little hesitant because, to be honest, only Argento. I've seen two Argento movies. One was a recent one as Argento's Dracula from about 10 years ago. I say, and it
Okay.
had a daughter in it, and it was fun and campy, but it was not a good movie. Let me put it that
Yep.
way.
Yep.
And then Suspiria is the other one, and I didn't
Okay.
much care for Suspiria, and I think I
Hmm.
need to go back in and watch it again because I think my expectations were skewed on what I was expecting.
Okay.
So I might have to go back and watch it. And I did actually love the remakes to Suspiria. So I do want to go back and revisit that one also, and then kind of go through his filmography after that. And Bob agrees. He says Tenebrae is awesome.
Yeah.
And we got Holland is here, of course. What's up, Dylan James?
Holland
What's going on, Holland?
Oats. I love that name, Holland Oats. That's a
Yes.
play on the band Holland
Yeah,
Oats.
I get songs in my head every time his
Yeah.
name pops up. So
101.
usually that one, to be honest with you.
Play that game tonight. I'm
Yeah,
gonna start singing
exactly.
here.
Yeah, hey, it's a great group. Movie Collector Maniac. I'm still waiting on my Kino Lorber sale movies that are ordered. Ooh, how long has that been?
Oh wow, man, you've been waiting for a while.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
know.
passed on that sale. I picked up a good number of keynotes lately, so I didn't really participate in the sale. Uh,
Okay, Johnny's also waiting. Wow.
mm, Man, what's up, Kino? What's going on?
Yeah, are these straight from Kino? Are these through Amazon or what's going on? Do we
Well,
know?
Kino had a sale from on their website, so this
Right.
will be straight from Kino.
Okay.
I don't know what's taking them so long.
Yeah,
It's wild.
it's not good business.
No,
Gotta
makes
get
me
people
glad
their
I
stuff.
didn't participate in the sale.
Yeah, I'm telling you, right? All right. Emmett is here. He says, "What's up? What's going on, Emmett?"
That's one thing I like about the Criterion flash sale. When they do their flash sale, their 24-hour sale, I get mine like within like 3 days after that Tuesday. So I'm
Hmm.
really happy with how fast they ship their orders out.
Yeah, and I mean that's what it should be because that's what your customers expect. He says, "I went a little overboard and purchased like
Whoa.
$400 worth of movies. I believe about 32 titles. Ooh,
Wow. Well, that's that's
yeah,
that's a good haul there.
that is definitely a good haul. So it should be worth it when it gets to you." Johnny says, "When Kino and Screen Factory just need to keep producing their slips." LOL.
Yep.
Are you a slipcover guy? I know you do a lot of Criterion, which doesn't really have slipcovers, but other than that, are you a slipcover guy?
Not. I mean, I appreciate a good slip. When there should be a slip, I definitely want it. So, for example, of course, on the Criterion side, you don't get any slip covers except for the
Right.
rare titles like Pink Flamingos, which has a nice slip cover. But um, the movie is what it is, but the slip
Yeah.
cover is awesome. But like for example, I was in Best Buy and I saw All Quiet on the Western Front that I want to get, but doesn't have the slip. So I'm trying to decide if I want to try to order it on Amazon, if it'll have a slip, if I order it from them, or if I happen to see it in a Best Buy with the slip. But it may just be that the slips are gone now, and I just have to just buy
Okay.
it without it.
Okay.
But I've heard
Okay.
great things about the movie, but I just kind of held.
It's funny how that little piece of cardboard is so divisive in the community. It's
Yeah.
it's It's crazy. Our fans of something is
Mr.
here. What's going
Eddie
on,
and
guys?
Haley, how's it going?
Yep. I'm not sure if both of you are here, just one of you, but welcome.
Yeah.
He says, "Hey, Dell, James, and the chat." And we got some more hellos back and forth going.
Howdy,
And I'm just
howdy.
kind of checking to see if there's anybody else who's checked in before we go ahead and get started. Because right now everybody's just kind of saying uh, hi to each other,
Mm-hmm.
and that is always a
Jim.
great part of the community. And like I always say, not just say hi to each other, but in the chat, go ahead and subscribe to each other because there are lots of good content creators in the chat. Here's somebody who just popped up with Jim Powers. What's up, Jim? He says,
Mr.
"What's up,
Powers.
everybody?" But yeah, there's a lot of good content creators out there in the chat. Subscribe to each other, and of course to my guest of honor here, Mr. James, 20th and 21st. And if you feel so inclined, go ahead and give
And
me a
our
follow.
incredible host, Mr.
Too.
Dell here.
Oh, thank you. And Trini's in the house. Culture Trini's, what's up,
Culture
people?
Trini. What's up, man?
All right, I'm looking down. I don't really. I do see one more person. Corey Wilkerson is here. What's going on,
Hello,
Corey?
Corey.
And I think 12 Angry Men broke Kino Amazon.
Oh man.
Yeah, and movie collector good haul. Yeah, that's a big
Oh
haul right
yeah.
there.
$400 for 32 titles. Woo.
Yeah, and this does it come with the slip. And let's see the book like I
Oh,
did.
All Quiet on the Western Front. Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
It didn't come with the slip. Oh, okay. Well, then I guess I'll just get it then tomorrow.
Okay, okay. And I only like slips if there are different cover art, and that's rare. That doesn't
Yeah, that
happen
is
that
kind of
often.
rare.
All right. So let's go ahead and get into the movies that we are here to talk about. So, Mr. James, I'm gonna let you take it away and talk about the movie that you have suggested for me to watch.
Okay, so my movie is a Clint Eastwood directed film. I think Clint Eastwood's a great director. I love his movies for the most part, and this is his directorial debut. It is from 1971, and it is my personal favorite of Clint Eastwood's movies, and it is Play Misty for Me. So this is his 1971 directorial debut, and it is this movie has a special place in my heart. It's one of my top 25 favorite films, personal favorite films, and I would love to see this get a 4K, but I'm probably dreaming about that. But got it on Blu-ray here, and it's a film from 1971. Stars Clint Eastwood, Jessica Walter, and it's basically about a disc jockey in Northern California. He plays Dave Garber, who's a disc jockey in the Northern California, San Francisco area, and he works at a radio station. You know, does a night shift for a like a soft rock type station, and every night this woman, Jessica Walter, calls in and asks him to, can you play Misty for me? And she ends up meeting him at a bar, and basically she gets infatuated with him. She is infatuated with him. She's a stalker, and he has trouble getting rid of her. They have a little bit of an encounter, a one night stand, and he's thinking, okay, that's it. Nothing, no permanent, no strings attached. But she has different ideas. She stalks him and is obsessed with him. And this is a film that has inspired a lot of other movies, namely like Fatal Attraction. Basically, it was inspired by this 1971 movie, and I absolutely love this shocker, this thriller. It's just a great film. I mean, I love the characters in it. Clint Eastwood as Dave Garber is just absolutely fantastic. The dialogue is really good. But Jessica Walter, who actually passed away, I think a couple years ago, she is just terrific in this, and just the whole supporting cast is great. The story is great. It even has a little bit of a jazz concert in it as well. So
Yeah, I
it
was a
is.
little surprised by that. They showed so much of that. To be honest with you.
Oh yeah, yeah. This movie is for me is basically like a comfort food. It's just a film I can just pop in and just get immersed in that world, and his house, the way where his house is situated, like
Hmm.
on the like on like the cliff and you see the water and
Yeah,
or the ocean below. I'm like, wow, that's a nice setup he has there,
yeah, it
uh,
is. It
but
is.
but it's just fantastic. It's beautiful. I love the story. It's just a really nice film. It's not one of the greatest movies of all time or anything like that, but it's one of my personal favorites, and it's definitely a comfort food. Now, I think now was this your first time seeing this movie?
First time.
And now it's one of my favorites, but don't feel like I don't want you to don't I mean you're not gonna hurt my feelings if you didn't like it. What did you think of this movie?
All right, so let's kind of work our way through it for a little bit. Um,
Okay.
so the first thing is I didn't realize that this was Clint Eastwood's directorial debut. And
Yeah.
before I go on, I do want to acknowledge two comments here really quick. Movie Collector Maniacs is Clint is the man. And then I
Yeah.
really wanted to acknowledge Movie and Train Studios. Since I'm new here, heard the series was a
Oh,
ton of fun. Thank you for hanging out with us. And I hope it is a ton of fun for you. We talk movies where the other person has never seen the movie, and we just kind of give our thoughts and kind of go through it and get into it a little bit, do a deep
yeah.
dive on it. All right, so all right, back to me. I didn't know this was his directorial debut, and that is interesting. For me personally, Clint Eastwood is a better director than he is an actor.
Yeah.
Um, he has
100%.
yeah, he has a way of telling a story that draws you in,
Hmm.
even if at the end, whether you like it or didn't like it, at the end you're compelled to keep watching it while it's playing out, which is a tricky thing to do. It's not always that. But he does manage to accomplish that most of the time. And I think this was the case again, where the story he pulls you into the story and makes you just keep watching it as it's playing out through the tone or through the events that happen in the story. And in this case, a lot of dialogue also helps, and kind of almost tonal shifts between a kind of serene, calm happenings and then just amp it up to 11 and then bring it back down. So he's kind of doing that thing
Yep. Yep.
throughout the movie. I'm not
Hmm.
sure if that's something that appeals to you as far as this movie is concerned, or if you even noticed that.
Yeah.
Um, so as far as his acting goes, here's where I always have problems with with Clint Eastwood. His acting for me, it's the squint, the stare, and that's pretty much
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's like, no matter what the emotion is supposed to be, he just kind of gives you that,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much it. And that's where he leaves me a little bit cold
Yeah.
as an actor. But
Hmm.
am I off my rocker? What do you think of his performance here and in general in his work?
Yeah. I mean, I think you're spot on. I mean, he is Clint Eastwood is one of my favorite directors. He's not in terms of actor, he's not like the greatest actor in the world, but I like some of the roles that he's been in.
Hmm.
And him as a character actor in like the Dirty Harry movies, you know, um, and of course he directs a lot of films that he is in, but his acting skills are not, he doesn't have like the greatest range as an actor that's
Right.
out there. Um, I mean, he's competent as an actor, but he's not De Niro or Pacino. He's not a great actor. He's more of a filmmaker, director,
Mm,
and he's able to play a role in his stories and help move the stories along. I did like his character of Dave Garber in this film. I like a lot of the dialogue and the one-liners.
yeah.
I thought some of his uh, some of his one-liners were pretty funny in it, and it had a pretty nice little mix of a little bit of humor in there with some of his banter with his fellow DJ, the police officer, the woman who cleans his house. Um, but then to your point, there's these tonal shifts where you have these funny moments, these lighthearted moments, and then it gets amped up based on the psychosis of this woman,
Mhm,
that
mhm.
is attaching herself to him, and he's not able to. shake loose from. So
Right, right. Now, her performance, on the other hand, I was intrigued by. Uh, she she kind of she played it. Let me put it this way. She kind of dipped her toe into high camp on a number of occasions,
yeah,
and I thought it worked because she didn't go, too far most of the time. A couple times she was way out there, but I didn't think she got enough into the camp where it was like, okay, this is fun, even though she's completely loony.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
so I thought her performance was really good. Um, to your point about the banter between characters, I thought that's what kept the movie going for me between those episodes was his banter, particularly with his fellow DJ early on,
yeah.
and then with the
I
police
like that
officer.
character, by the way. I mean, I think that actor. I think he's still alive, actually.
Okay, that
Probably in his
would be
90s, but I
impressive.
think he's still with us. I
Okay,
forgot his name, but I'll have to look it up. But I liked his character. I think he, again, one of those supporting actors that it just added to the atmosphere, and there were some good exchanges there between him and Clint Eastwood and their relationship. So
right.
there was just enough of him in the story, and then of course his introduction to Jessica Walter's character, him being there. Um, so I enjoyed his character for
Yeah,
the time he was on screen.
yeah, really enjoyed him. And a character I enjoyed but simultaneously hated was the police officer
Oh
because I was like getting actually angry at this man. I was like, "You are a moron."
yeah,
Throughout the movie, but his exchanges with Clint Eastwood were some of the funnier moments in the movie for me, anyway.
yeah.
Um,
James McKeaton played Al Monty, who was his fellow DJ,
the
and
DJ, right?
I think he's still alive. He's like 90, going on 93 years old, I guess. So
Wow. So him and
like,
Clint
wow,
are kind of neck and neck there.
right up there with each other. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, what did you think of that character? Because like I said, I liked him because he kept me in the movie and his exchanges with Eastwood were great, but he as a person just irked my nerves. It's like you are just a moron with a
Who
badge.
the police officer?
Yes,
Yeah, he was. I mean, he wasn't the smartest cop in the world.
right.
I did like one of the one-liners in the movie that I really liked was when he's talking to Dave Garber, Clint Eastwood's character, and telling him about how she's escaped from the sanatorium or whatever,
Mhm.
and Clint Eastwood says, "Well, well, I really appreciate how you broke yourself off to let me know about that." Just the way Clint Eastwood delivers some of his lines. I mean, even though
Mhm.
he's not this great actor,
Right, right, right.
I do like the way he delivers some of his lines. There's some good humor behind it. But I mean, the cop was, he was not written to be this brilliant this brilliant
Definitely.
officer of the law. So
Definitely, definitely. He was yeah, definitely not brilliant, that's for sure.
yeah,
Um so the other character that he had a lot of banter with you and you touched on was the housekeeper uh
yeah,
who came in and I'm drawing a blank on her name and I thought I wrote it
Birdie,
down.
Birdie,
Yes, Birdie. And
yeah,
she seemed to be the one character who, before Misty came in the picture, could kind of keep him on the straight and narrow, so to
hmm,
speak. Maybe not keep him on the straight and narrow, but could kind of call him on his BS, if that makes sense.
yeah,
So I really did enjoy their relationship, and I wanted a little more from her, but I realized that that was not what the story was about, so it wasn't really necessary to the
yeah,
story. But I've seen her in a number of things, and I forgot her actual name, but she is
yeah. Clarice Taylor. Clarice Taylor
yes,
was her name.
she's basically been a
Good
side
actress.
character in a lot of things.
Mhm.
I don't know if I've ever seen her as a lead in anything, to be honest,
I don't think so.
but she's been good in just about everything that I've ever seen her in. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I enjoyed her character, and And I thought she, to your point, she wasn't in there long, but she definitely added, you know, another, dimension with Clint Eastwood's character in terms of another character that is in his life, and sort of to your point, keeps him grounded, so to
Hmm.
speak. And so when you see kind of what happens to her or almost happens or whatever, I don't know if we're trying. I don't know if we're getting into spoilers or not. Do you?
Well, I'm gonna try
You said
not
it.
to because for this movie because I think a lot of the younger viewers may not have seen this one for sure.
Okay.
Uh, so I would try to stay out of too heavy a spoiler territory. Let me put it this way: if you got to say something that might be a minor spoiler, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed her character in it. I mean, she wasn't in there long, but she added to the, supporting cast for this film in a really nice way.
Okay. So now to
And
bring it back to a broader scope, the vibes of this movie, as in things I've seen before this, is well, so I got to see where a lot of the influence comes from. So for me, I am a fan of for lack of a better term, the psycho suitor movies.
yeah,
Starting with Fatal Attraction being really the genesis, and then everything else kind of
yeah,
coming from that. So stuff that people hate, I kind of like, the Mark Wahlberg movie, The Fear, the Boy Next
hmm
Door, the J Lo movie, the Obsessed with the
obsessed.
Beyonce,
It Elba, yeah,
yeah, and just Elba. They're
hmm
it's pure pulp, and but I
yeah,
love those movies. But I got to
hmm
see where a lot of the tropes come from because
yeah,
Fatal Attraction was clearly influenced by this movie, which was influenced by some movies that came before it. So I really did enjoy that aspect of it. Um,
yeah.
so do you think that this movie kind of gets the credit it deserves? Mainly because Fatal Attraction is looms so large over that genre or subgenre.
I don't think it does, to be honest with you, because I think a lot of people, have, I think most people probably have never even heard of this movie, to be honest. I mean, who even people who know about Clint Eastwood have probably never even heard of Play Misty for Me or have any idea that it inspired Fatal Attraction. I certainly didn't know about it until a couple of years ago. So um, I don't think it gets the credit that it probably deserves. I would love to see it get probably low chance of this happening, but I would love to see it get a 4K release. That would be just fantastic. But it is a film that I would love more people to see because I think it's just a really fun movie to watch.
Yeah, and it's one of those where when people see it, they're like, "Oh, that's where that came from, or that's where this
Yeah,
thing came from." And I think they would be appreciative of it if more people knew about it. Just want to check in with the chat, see if anybody
yeah.
is talking about the movies here. And Mika says
Mika.
he loves Play Misty for me.
Oh, yay.
Very cool. And of course, we have the people that are talking back and forth. If you're not really familiar with the way I do the chat, a lot of times, a lot of the hellos that go back and forth, they may flash up on the screen, but I may not always verbally acknowledge them.
hmm
But people who are talking about what we're talking about, I will make sure I get them up on the screen and definitely mention that. And Mika say, yes, kind of a blueprint for later films like Fatal Attraction. Agreed.
hmm
Go ahead, go ahead. You want to sound like you wanted to speak to that? I'll come back to this one.
Yeah, so definitely a blueprint for Fatal Attraction. But I was just going to say that I liked, one of the elements I liked about this film is I like films that kind of give me a glimpse into areas that I think are interesting. Like, what's it like being a DJ? So you get a feel for you know what it's like being a DJ. And part of what I like about it is not only being a DJ, but seeing a DJ from the 1970s and seeing
Mhm.
that antiquated equipment that they were working with, and just getting a little glimpse into their process, how they set up a show, and um, was and I think a pretty interesting part of Dave Garber's character.
Yeah, yeah, that was interesting. It kind of took me back to when I used to listen to the radio way back
Yeah.
when. Movie Collector Maniac. I have a video showcasing all of my Clint Eastwood collection on my channel. I will definitely go ahead and check that out.
Okay. Have to check that out.
Yep. Mika actually watched this film during my obsession themed month. There you go.
Oh, nice,
There
nice.
you go. And yeah, that's probably a better term for it. Sub obsession films. I
Obsession films. Yeah.
think that would look amazing with a 4K scan. Johnny says, yeah.
I think so too. I mean, because you get those, those Northern California landscapes, seascape, rocky cliffs, and um, I think
So
with a good 4K scan, if they have some good elements to work with, the original camera negative, I mean, could probably be a nice looking image for a film like this.
yeah, and I wasn't expecting those shots. We got a lot of those. I imagine they got them with a helicopter, or
Yeah.
because it looked too high to be a crane,
Oh yeah. Absolutely. 100%.
and it was pretty impressive. For one, just how still the camera was, because like I said, I'm pretty sure they did this with a helicopter, and they're not
Yep.
known for being the most stable flight vehicles.
Hmm.
See, so and then we got a
Yeah.
lot of those shots, and we got a lot of long wide angle shots. Anytime Clint Eastwood was moving around California, so
Yeah.
we got to see the scenery a lot.
Yeah. I
I
like
like
his
his
acting and directing. Okay.
Yeah, I like his acting and directing. I think he does a great job at both. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not saying Clint Eastwood is a bad actor.
Right.
He like you said, he's a competent actor, and given the right role, he can excel.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hmm.
and role like Gran Torino was a perfect fit for him.
Yeah.
Unforgiven was a really good fit for him.
Sure
Um,
was. Yeah.
yeah, the Man with No Name trilogy, that worked for him. A lot of the westerns, because they don't
I need to
require a
finish
lot
those
of
movies. I
emotion.
have them on Blu-ray. I need to finish those three movies. I've seen a little bit of each, but I need to finish those.
They're good westerns, and they
Mhm.
don't require a lot of him as far as emoting and heavy lifting, as far as getting you into the story and all that. Sergio Leone takes care of that for you.
Yeah.
So he's just kind of the avatar there, and
Yeah.
it works for him. He's really good in those movies, but like you said, not the widest range.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, Mika agreed. Love Clint as a director, and yeah, he fits
Specific
specific
roles.
roles
Yeah.
exactly.
Go ahead, make my
Make my
day.
day. That's right.
I love Dirty Harry, man. He, he
Yeah,
walks in the room with his gun, and the bad guys. He starts shooting, and the bad guys start flying everywhere.
that's right. That's right. With that the 44 Magnum.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, Clint plays roles suited for the films he directs. He's never over the top. It's almost as if the actor as much. That's an interesting take. That
Yeah.
is, yeah.
Okay.
He says his focus is more on the story. Agreed.
Hmm.
We got some Mika's agreeing with him.
He's a great storyteller. I mean, Million Dollar Baby.
Yes,
Wow. I
yes,
mean,
yes,
man. Ooh.
yes. That is one of my favorite of the
Mm-mm-mm.
Clint Eastwood movies, if not my favorite. So
Hmm.
Clint has some great lines in this film. Yes, he does.
Hmm.
And KB, this is a good one, underrated in my opinion for the story and Jessica's performance. And yeah, we were kind of hitting on that.
Jessica Walter, just wonderful, wonderful. Um, Now, are we going to talk about Donna Mills?
Yeah,
I
go
guess
for it.
pre-Dynasty. Wait, she was in Dynasty, right? Was she in Dynasty or?
No, I don't think she was in Dynasty. I used to watch Dynasty. I don't remember her being in that.
Knots Landing, Knots Landing.
Yeah,
I
there
get
you
the
go. Okay, that
I
makes
get these soap operas mixed up.
I
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah,
I
she was
didn't
in Knots
recognize her
Landing.
at first. I looked at her and I was like, she looks familiar. She looks familiar. And then I was like, then I looked it up. I was like, oh, that's Donna Mills. Okay, but go ahead. Go ahead. What did you want
Yeah,
to say
so
about her?
she plays Toby. She plays, a time like former girlfriend with Garber. They've been in and out, and Dave wants to, you know, try again and really make it work this time. So that's who he really wants, but he's got this stalker played by Jessica Walter that he's trying to get rid of. So there's that element of complication. But I think she played, and I guess her role in terms of her acting wasn't, wasn't incredible in this film. She was
Mhm.
fine. She was adequate, in the
Yeah.
role, and I think her character played an important, part in this picture, and just another element that added to the complexity of the story and of her
Yes,
day's life.
agreed, totally agreed. She, she was definitely the polar opposite of our antagonist there,
Yep.
and she she was almost functioned like a MacGuffin.
Yeah.
She was the object that he was after
Hmm.
for most of the movie, uh, while he was fleeing from the from the other person, so to speak.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that was that juxtaposition between the two women was really good, and I thought the twist towards the end, uh, where we get them together. I won't say how, but we get them together.
Hmm.
That was
That was
really
very
well
well
done.
done.
Yeah, that
Well
was really
done.
well done. Mizzy's here. He says, "Sorry, I'm late." And you're right on time.
Hey, Missy.
Yeah, you're right on time, Mizzy. Catch the replay if you want to see what we're talking about at the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, but
But yeah, I
yeah.
liked her character, and I like the music in this movie. I like that's part of what I like about the film is the music, with some of the music from the radio station playing, some of the music, of course, with the concert, that jazz concert.
Mhm, mhm.
Love that part. And then there's this one of the scenes with Dave Garber and Toby Donna Mills. There's a romantic scene, and um, the Roberta Flack song, the first time ever
First
I
time
saw
ever I
your
saw your
face.
face. Yes, yes. It was a great song.
Beautiful song, beautiful, sort of a beautiful interlude in the film, and very well shot, like masterfully shot. Very romantic scene.
Yes, it was. Now, I did have a little bit of a problem with that scene though, because they're out there in the weeds, so to speak, in the
Mhm.
bushes and all that, and I didn't see a blanket anywhere. No, this,
They
we
were just
can't
on the
do this.
ground.
Yeah. Maybe if they were like just in grass, I
Right.
could go with it, but they weren't. I was like, we're gonna have problems later when we get home.
Why am I itching? What's wrong with my
Yeah,
back?
exactly, exactly. Now, I did have to take a little bit of umbrage with the concert scene, not because
Okay.
it was a problem as far as the music goes, because music was great. My problem was that they showed so much of it that while I'm watching it, I'm like, oh man, this is cool, but I'm kind of being taken out of the movie a bit.
Yeah.
So
It
that's
did
where
take you out of
my
the movie a little bit. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because I wasn't concerned with what was happening, even though they did, throw a little bit in while they were
Mhm.
at the concert. There was some things happening, but it
Yeah.
wasn't enough. I thought it was overwhelmed by what was happening on stage at
Yeah.
this concert that they went
There,
to.
there's this woman out there, this stalker. She's trying to kill people, but
Right.
hey, this saxophonist is really
Yeah,
sounds
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, exactly. That was kind of my position. Aren't we supposed to be focusing on something right now? Right now.
Like this killer.
Yeah, yeah. So that was kind of the one of the areas where I was kind of taken out of the movie, and
Mhm.
I think it being his debut as a director
Yeah,
might have led to that being in there,
yeah,
whereas later on he might have pared it down, if not taken it out. Not, I don't think it necessarily need to be removed from the movie, but just kind of
yeah,
pared down so
yeah,
that the narrative thrust is maintained and we're still being moved
yeah,
through the story.
yeah. And that's a great point you make there. I mean, this is his directorial debut, and so I can imagine, you know, Clint, the director, 10 years later, 20 years later, this movie would be, I think, even better because it would have the benefit of his experience. He would have crafted it and paced it like almost perfectly. Um, and it is a bit of an imperfect movie in terms of the pacing, because he
Hmm.
was just getting his feet wet. But um, I just love it. I might just love the charm of it,
Hmm.
as a
Hmm.
as a film. But it is probably one of his lesser directed films because it was his first one. And it actually came out. So this came out in '71, the same year as Dirty Harry came out.
Right.
And there's a story behind that. I need to look at the special features, but they talked about how, of course, he had Dirty Harry out. They let him direct this movie and as a passion project or whatever. And so I got to kind of, um, listen to that supplement
Yeah, and
a little
I
bit more.
imagine at the time people were kind of like, Clint Eastwood direct the movie. You mean the guy from the westerns, that guy? And
Right.
so, I imagine there was a little bit of, okay, well, if you have to here, just go make this while Dirty Harry really makes the money for us.
Yeah. Hmm.
And
Exactly.
yeah, Mika says favorite Clint Eastwood performance has to be Million Dollar Baby.
Oh yeah.
It's a great performance, yeah. And I,
Him and
I
Morgan
tend to go with.
Freeman there, and of course Hilary Swank. I mean,
Mhm,
oof,
mhm. I lean this one and Unforgiven. Those are my top two,
yeah.
and Clint Eastwood performances. Uh,
Unforgiven is so good. I mean, it
yes.
is. I love how Clint. There's a lot of seriousness in those stories, but he works that humor in there too.
Hmm,
I
hmm.
love that. You know, the comic relief. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. He does manage to get some in there. Agents, says I remember Knots Landing.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember it, but I didn't watch it much. I was
Yeah, I
always
didn't
on the
watch
other
it either.
network. I was
My
always with
mother, I
Dynasty.
think my mom watched it. She watched that and Dynasty and
Yeah, I watched
you know
Dynasty. I was like,
Dallas. And
it is. I think I might have been the only young black male in the '70s, in the '80s, just watching Dynasty by himself. It's weird. And Mika says, "Love the duality of the two women in the film." Yes,
yeah,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. I was
All
kind of
right.
wondering if, I was kind of wondering if, like, if those roles are switched. If Donna Mills played Psycho and Jessica Walter played, I wonder if they could have, how successful they would have been if they had switched roles. We'll never know. But
That's an interesting thought. Uh, I think Donna Mills might have been a bit typecast before that,
hmm,
so it's not something that they would have given her.
yeah,
They're like, yeah, you can't do this. Nobody's gonna believe it if if you did this. But
right.
yeah, it would be interesting to see. It
Hmm.
definitely would be. All right, so we go on to through the movie, and we get all these various events where our stalker is going crazy, and some of the scenes some played better than others. Let me put it this way. And I think the scenes where we didn't see her as much doing the things that she did, I think those
Yeah,
scenes played better than the ones where we actually saw her doing things, if that
yeah.
makes sense. I don't know if you how did you feel about that?
Trying to think. Yeah, Oh, you mean like, for example, with his apartment being trashed or what have you?
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah,
I
like
mean,
we get the one where his whole place is just trashed. I mean,
wrecked.
everything
Yeah,
is trash. And I'm gonna let it slide that everything's kind of put back together pretty quickly. But
the magic of movies.
the magic of movies. But then later on in the movie, the scene where he's asleep, it's an effective scene overall, but I think a little less effective with her actually being in the scene. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I definitely see what you're saying. I mean, it definitely it can be more effective when sort of show the audience something and let the audience kind of fill in the details rather than because the audience knows, oh, she probably did this,
Right.
versus just blatantly showing it. So it is. I mean, it can be more effective in some cases. To your point, to just show just enough where you know what she did, which kind of, but not showing her doing it kind of lends to some of the mystery and the intrigue, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was a big factor in this particular film. Um, and at the end, you kind of had to have her there, uh,
Yeah.
but they made it work as best they could, and did a lot of close-ups and quick cutting for some of those scenes at the end, and they made it work as best they could as far as that goes. Agent James brings up Falcon Crest. Wow, I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Yeah,
That's a
I've heard of it, but I never watched it.
Yeah, I didn't
This
watch it either. I think I might have saw it once or twice, but I do remember it being a thing
mhm.
for a while. And Emmett has a question, and I'm going to come back to that question, Emmett, because what I want to do here first is go ahead and let's go ahead and wrap this movie up, and I'll get to
Okay.
now my overall thoughts on Play Misty for me. So I
Okay.
talked earlier about expectation, and again, I hate to bring up Fatal Attraction again, but that's the movie that set my expectation. It's like, okay, we're gonna be Fatal Attraction or nuttier. So now getting into this movie, there were lots of good things going on, and then when we finally get into the meat of the story, that third act of it, it was it was kind of let's go there, but let's not quite do as much as I was expecting, which is a
Mhm.
more of a me problem than the film problem, I think. I'm happy to admit that. Uh, and again, I think with it being less effective with her in the picture doing some of the things, that also kind of knocked it down a notch for me. But there was so many
Yeah.
other good things about it uh, that it outweighed that for the most part. You know, we
Yeah.
talked about the banter between Clint Eastwood's character and some of the other characters. That was a big thing that kept us going through the music as a whole overall. Notwithstanding the concert scene and my issues with that, but just overall the music was really good. Um, the cinematography, the scenery, all of that worked out really well for the movie. So overall, I didn't while I didn't love the movie, I did like the movie. So I
Okay.
did think it was a pretty good movie and one I could see myself rewatching. Um,
Okay.
I may not be in a rush to rewatch it, but if somebody's like, "Hey, you ever heard of Play Misty for me?" Sure, let's watch it. I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. So I think it's a good
Yeah.
movie. Like I said, I wouldn't call it a great movie, but I did enjoy
Right.
my
Right.
time with it.
Yeah.
So that's where I landed on that one.
That sounds great. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I mean, this is one of my personal favorites, but it's not, one of the greatest films of all time. It's just one of those, personal favorites, for me. Kind of almost a guilty pleasure kind of thing, but I just really enjoy it. It's good, comfort food, so to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah.
I wonder if it'll get a Criterion release at some point. I don't know.
Now,
I kind of doubt
maybe
it.
to be honest with you, maybe because you recommended it, I thought it was in the Criterion collection already. Um,
No,
but apparently not.
no, no.
And just for off the sheer fact that it's Clint Eastwood's directorial debut
Oh
might
yeah.
give it that kind of push. So who knows? We'll see.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? We'll see. And Amika says it's a fun watch,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So before we move on, I'm gonna get to Emmett's question. He says, "Hey, who's your favorite final girl in the Friday the 13th series?" And I'm drawing a blank on her name now, but for me, it's the girl
I
from
am
Friday
too.
the 13th Part Two. I thought she was the best one. She was my favorite one. Uh, the other than the one, and later on they do a kind of a Carrie character later on in the series. She's pretty good, but I thought they kind of cheated
Yeah.
with that. So this one from Friday the 13th Part Two is my favorite final girl. Are you a fan of the series at all, James?
I mean, I've only seen the first one.
Okay,
I saw the first one in its entirety this past year when I got the 4K. So I haven't seen the other Friday the 13th movies, but I did like the first one that I saw. So but I haven't dove into all the other films. I think I saw a little bit of Jason where he's in space or something, or
Jason X.
Jason X.
Yeah,
So I've seen maybe I might have caught it on Tubi or whatever, and I'm thinking, man, this is really out there.
yeah. I the series overall, it's a lot of people. think there's a lot of bad movies, and they're not great movies. But I think what's lost on a lot of people is that once we get around 4, 5, well, not four. Once we get past four, I'll say. Once we get past the final, which is they call it the final chapter because it was supposed to be the last one, chapter 4. But then there's so many other movies. Once we get past that, the series is really dark comedy, self parody than horror. So,
Okay.
and I think a lot of people go and looking for just horror just because it's Jason,
Yeah.
and yeah, he's killing up a lot of people, but it's really dark comedy and
Okay.
self parody because it's kind of aware that of what it is at that point. There are a few
Yeah.
movies that kind of veer from that, but that, at least in my estimation, that's what it is, what it's always been. Once we get
Oh,
that
okay.
far. And Johnny helped us out. He says Amy Steele is the actress from Friday 2. Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you,
forgot
Johnny.
her character name. But yeah, she is my favorite final girl. All right. So
Cool.
before I actually get to my movie, I do have a bit of a bone to pick with you, sir. So
Uh-oh.
here's my bone to pick with you. So when I do these, for people who are in the chat who've not been a part of this before, I send over a list of 10 movies for someone to pick one that they haven't seen before, and they do the same for me. And sometimes I kind of have a preconceived notion of what's going to happen. Uh, and when I don't get that, I got to talk about it a little bit. So I
Okay.
don't know if you saw my chat with Sue a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
And at the
On
top of my list,
Boomerang and yeah.
right, Boomerang. And but at the top of my list for her was a movie that I knew she had not seen, which was The Matrix. That was a
Okay.
movie I wanted her to see. She didn't pick it. She picked Boomerang. We talked about it a little bit on the chat. This time it's
Okay.
working in reverse because I thought I'm gonna get to watch this movie that I had never seen before that you have spoken so highly of so often. I was looking to
Okay.
watch Blowout.
Oh,
How did not get
oh,
on the list, James?
oh man. I wish I had put it on there. Now you still haven't seen it?
I still haven't seen it.
Now, do you have it in your collection?
I do not have it, but
Okay.
I do want to watch it, and I'll probably watch it before making that decision on whether or not to get it.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I love that movie, man. I mean, that probably is my I think Blowout is my first Criterion collection edition. It's the first one I bought, I think. And I got it, I think around 2013. Costco used to carry Criterions.
hmm
So they would have like 5 or 6 in the store and they would sell them for like 19.99.
oh
So
wow,
um, even like Seven Samurai, which was normally like, I think $50 and
at
you
that
got it
time,
for
yeah.
25, 50% off. Costco sold it for 19.99. So I got that for 19.99 at Costco. But I think Blowout was the very first Criterion edition, and I absolutely love that film. Is part of what I like about it is similar to Play Missy for me. Of course, Clint Eastwood plays a DJ in that film. In Blowout, John Travolta plays a sound man
Right.
for a B movie studio, and he works with his sound equipment. He's out there getting sound for these movies, and part of what I like about it is the fact that this is a film from 1981, and you see that antiquated sound equipment that he's working with, and how he's putting together the sound, syncing it with some pictures, and making like a little mini movie. So you'll get that taste of the process of making movies, watching Blowout, which I
hmm
like in movies. But it's just a really, really good movie from Brian De Palma. It's got John Travolta, Nancy Allen, John Lithgow. And it's got political intrigue, mystery, suspense, thriller, and John Travolta being John Travolta. It's got some cool music in it,
Yeah.
which I vibe with, given John Travolta, and all that. So it's really, really good. I love Blowout.
Okay. I'm definitely gonna give it a look. All right, and Mika agrees, says Blowout is a great film.
Yeah,
Johnny says like the first 4 Fridays and Friday Part 6. A lot of people do like Part 6 as well.
nice, nice.
Steve Mares is here. He says greetings, gentlemen and flick friends. How's it going, Steve?
Hello, Steve.
Johnny says
Yeah,
I need to rewatch that De Palma classic.
absolutely. So good. Tiana.
Tiana, she says, "Hey everyone."
Yeah, definitely get it on that 4K. If you don't already have it, oh man, get that 4K. It's beautiful. Beautiful.
Okay, okay. And we got Tiana says, "Johnny, I found you." And we got some people saying, "Hey" to her.
Hello to
And
Tiana.
yep, we got, so everybody's kind of saying hey to Tiana and Adrian, because they're going kind of back and forth right now. So let's go ahead and get into the movie that I recommended for
Yeah.
you. I'm on
Yes.
record as saying that Spike Lee is my favorite director. However, this is a movie a lot of people don't even know that he directed, uh,
Yeah.
largely because of the cast. He's
Hmm.
known for predominantly black cast in his movies, and in this case, the star is an African American, Denzel Washington. But the cast, you talked about Blowhouse cast. This cast is pretty stacked. We do get Chiwetel Ejiofor. We get Clive Owen. We get I'm drawing a total blank on the
Jodie
big guy,
Foster,
Jodie
Christopher
Foster.
Plummer,
That's not the name I was blanking on, and the
Christopher
name I was
Plummer.
blanking on was Christopher Plummer. Thank you, and Willem
Yes.
Dafoe,
Oh,
also in the movie. And
what a
that
cast,
movie,
man.
yeah. If you haven't figured out, the movie is Inside Man,
Yeah.
and this is a heist film where Clive Owen is the he comes on the screen right at the beginning of the movie, and he tells you what his name is, and he tells you that he's planned this perfect bank robbery and he's gonna rob this bank, and then at the end he's just gonna walk away scot free. So he tells you this up front, so that's not I'm not spoiling anything for anybody, and we get to see the plan set into motion. He and his crew, they don painters outfits, they go into this bank, and they basically lock it down, take everybody inside hostage, and wait for the police to show up and start making demands. And Denzel Washington is the main detective. He's going to be in charge of the case for right now. Chiwetel Ejiofor, and this was my first introduction to him back in the day when I saw it. He is his partner, and they're working the case. Willem Dafoe is the main guy of the uniformed cops. He's
Yeah.
in the truck and trying to get communications, make sure communications are all set between the people inside the bank and the police. And we also get Jodie Foster and Christopher Plummer. Christopher Plummer is the owner of the bank, so it's his
Yeah.
bank. So he's kind of concerned about what's going on. And within a short time, we find out that he's got extra reasons to be concerned about what's going on.
He's really concerned.
He's really concerned, and he hires Jodie Foster to protect those interests.
Yeah.
And then the movie flows from there. So, beginning of the movie, like I said, it's a heist movie, and Denzel is he kind of arrives on the scene. Well, you know what? Before Denzel arrives on the scene, so we're in the bank, and we get this robbery start to be set into motion. What did you think of Clive Owen as he was putting this plan in place as it was going on?
Yeah. I I was definitely pulled into, how they were going to go about, based on what he established from the beginning, planning this perfect robbery. So I was interested to see how it was going to all unfold, and just seeing, how they initiate the robbery and what they have the people in the bank do. It makes you start to think, what are they planning, what are they after, what are they, the movie definitely keeps you guessing, what are their motivations, what are they trying to accomplish. And it definitely leads you into some areas that you wouldn't expect. It's definitely not formulaic, that's for sure.
No, it breaks formula quite a bit. And one of those places that it breaks formula was, we see that throughout the movie at several different points throughout the movie. We actually get the feeling that he's a nice guy,
Hmm.
even though he's the bank robber.
Yeah.
And for one of my favorite scenes is we get to see him sitting next to the kid. There's one kid out of all the hostages. There's one kid. I think he's 8 years old, and
Yeah.
he's playing a video. He's got his handheld device. He's playing a video game, and when there's a break in the action, so to speak, when they're all eating. He's sitting next to the kid and really in a separate room, and he's asked the kid about the game, and he starts playing the game, and it's a really think GTA or Grand Theft Auto almost on
Yeah.
steroids. It's
Yeah.
it's rough. It's a rough game, and we get to
Yes.
hear him hear his concern for this kid playing
Yeah.
this game. For me, that was one of my favorite scenes. I
Hmm.
don't know if that scene played as well for you. I don't know
It
if you
did.
can speak to that at all.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it added to the complexity of like Clive Owen's character, in terms of wow, he's being really gentle to this child, but then a few minutes earlier you saw him just beat the crap out of this guy, guy
Right,
who wouldn't give up his cell phone. He, you know, I mean, just brutalized the guy. So you're seeing these contrasts, and it just keeps you guessing about what is he capable of, and what is he doing, and what are his motivate what are his motivations.
right,
um, so it,
right.
it it definitely does a good job of keeping you guessing, showing these different sides and the complexity of his character.
Yeah, it definitely does. And just a few people were talking about it. Johnny says Inside Man. So
Inside Man.
apparently we got a fan. And KB says Inside Man is so good. One of my favorite Denzel Spike movies. They have a handful of them.
Yeah. Oh, they do.
Uh, they do. Mika love Inside Man. Yes, it has my Jody. Yes, it does.
Yes.
She plays a pivotal role as we go along. Movie Collector Maniac. I have that movie, but haven't watched probably since it came out. Sounds like you've seen it. I would. Hey, it's time for a rewatch. I would think. I
Yeah.
say so.
Oh yeah. I watched it on Netflix. I don't have it on physical. Now,
Mhm.
it's not available on 4K, is it? It's just on Blu-ray?
No, just on Blu-ray, and
Yeah.
that's one of the things about Spike Lee's catalog is it's been, I think, undervalued as far as physical media is concerned.
Hmm.
There are a lot of his movies are still just on DVD, or the ones that are on Blu-ray. They're almost obscure. A lot of people don't even know that they're out there.
Yeah.
And this is one I just happened to come across on Blu-ray. I had it on a DVD for a long time. I just happened to come across it thrifting one day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I know
his
his Do the Right Things on 4K.
mhm,
Criterion has a Blu-ray out, and someone put it out on 4K, and of course, Black
mhm.
Clans was on 4K, and
And Malcolm X is on
Malcolm X is
4K
on
now.
4K. Yeah,
Hmm. Other than that, he's got maybe 7, 8 more on Blu-ray, maybe more than that. But then he's
yeah,
got 5, 6, 7 that are just DVD.
hmm,
Mika said we'll definitely be on our watch list for Jody themed month. Oh, good,
yeah.
good. And we do have another new visitor. Matthew's here. Says
Hello,
hello,
Matthew.
everyone. Hello, Matthew. All right. So we get through the bank robberies coming in. So Denzel is going on, I should say. Denzel, his partner Chiwetel Ejiofor, they show up, and the first thing we hear about Denzel are some not so flattering things, as opposed to what Clive Owens has going on. We're not sure if he's really a bad guy, but we're also not sure if Denzel is a good guy, at least right from the start.
Right.
Um, did you feel that as when that happened, when his first conversation is going on? And for
Well, I
people who don't
think.
know, I was just
Oh,
gonna
I'm sorry.
say, even though it's not much of a spoiler, there's some money missing. There's like 100,000,
Yeah,
$104,000, I think they said was missing from a case that Denzel worked, and they
yeah,
think he took it. But go ahead.
yeah. So that's that, and that what you just said is established early on in the film before he even comes on the scene. That there's this money missing. He says he didn't take it, and I think as the audience, you don't really know for sure whether he did or not. You think he might not have, but it doesn't, like, I don't think it definitively answers that question in this film, or I mean it might, but I don't remember that question really being definitively
It
answered. So it
doesn't
sort of leaves
really.
you thinking, interesting, which I kind of appreciated, his character having that little angle to it, and I appreciate films like that because that where the characters are not just straight up, here's the good guys, here's the bad guys, and that's it,
Right.
it's just clean cut.
Right.
I like those shades of gray, where you have sort of the anti-hero, which is kind of what his Denzel's character is. He's basically a good guy, but he has some warts. He's not perfect,
Right.
and then you've got Clive Owen, who's supposedly the bad guy, but how bad is he really? Is he, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and that adds to the intrigue, of the film. I think just the complexity, of the characters, and I really liked a lot of the relationships in this film in terms of like Chiwetel Ejiofor and Denzel together.
Hmm.
Thought they
Hmm.
played off each other really well,
They did.
um, and I really liked Willem Dafoe's character. I think everyone did was really well cast, in this film.
Willem Dafoe, it was for me. It was one of the most interesting Willem Dafoe performances. It wasn't one of those ones where he's over the top and so
Yeah,
animated. It wasn't that Willem Dafoe, but it was
yeah,
still really good nonetheless. Because what I felt with him, he was just world weary
yeah,
and not happy with the way Denzel was handling this investigation.
right.
But he could only say so much.
Yeah.
So now, and I understand where he was coming from. While it's going on, what did you think of his character's handling of the case as it was playing out?
Um, I, that's a good question. I think in terms of, I think he was handling it. Kind of hard to judge. I mean, I think he handled it okay, so to speak. Just his initial conversations with Clive Owen's character, trying to, get in that hostage negotiation, mode. So I thought, I think he was handling it okay, so to speak. I did like some of the things that they were doing in terms of when the language was, being played, that they
Hmm.
couldn't understand who's speaking this, and he,
Right.
says put it on the loudspeaker. We're in New York City. I'm sure there's someone out there can, tell us what they're saying. Um, so I did like some of those little details in the film. Um, I think he handled it okay in terms of the investigation, but I really did enjoy Denzel's performance overall in terms of his banter with Chiwetel Ejiofor, his sort of establishing the relationship at the beginning with Willem Dafoe. Willem
Hmm.
Dafoe at first was sort of dismissing him, but he
Hmm.
said, "No, actually, I'm in charge," and sort of
Right.
set him straight. And there was that initial, friction between him and Willem Dafoe that they had to work through. And but yeah, I think he handled it okay in terms of getting on the scene, establishing his authority, beginning to kind of work through the particulars of how to, properly negotiate and engage, with Clive Owen's character, when to engage with them.
Hmm.
We don't want to call him yet or whatever.
Right.
Um, so I think he handled it, okay.
Yeah. Now, as far as his performance overall, now this is one I'm going to ask you, but I don't expect an answer. Let me put it. And what it
Okay.
is it's an acting choice that I saw this first for the first time in the theaters back when it came out,
Okay. Sure.
and I said it then, and then when I rewatched it for this, it came back up again. I was like, yeah, that's an interesting choice for a character, and I thought it added a little bit of depth to the character, or just not necessarily depth, but humanity. And that was the fact that he coughed several times in the movie. Now you may not have even noticed it, but he coughed several
Hmm.
times in the movie. For me, when a character coughs in a movie, there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
There's something coming. There's some kind of sickness, something happened, something else is going on, that this is a important to the plot. Other than
Yeah.
that, characters don't cough in movies. And in this case, he coughed several times. It came up through the movie, but nothing was ever made of it.
Mhm.
So again, I don't expect an answer, but that was one that something that I picked up on, and maybe you can just speak to his performance overall. But I thought that was an interesting choice for both him and Spike Lee to leave it in, because it could be pretty easy to say cut and do that line again when he
Yeah,
coughs.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's something I did not pick up on that as much. I need to. I'm actually on my second watch of this movie
Okay.
because this movie for me was pretty complex in terms of, okay,
Yes.
what did I actually see? What just happened? You know? So I'm actually watching it again. I'm actually on Wikipedia, kind of like,
Right.
reading detailed analysis of it, and it is really intriguing. But I think his performance overall, you're asking about his performance.
Yeah.
I thought it was another pretty good performance by Denzel. I mean, I felt like I bought him as a detective. I bought him as as a policeman. I bought the fact that he is, dealing with some complexity in his life in terms of trying to get promoted to detective or next level, make the next promotion,
Hmm.
but being hampered by this cloud hanging over his head about this $140,000,
Right.
that he may or may not have stolen. Um, you know, and just working through those complexities, and then of course Jodie Foster's character comes into play, makes him an offer to perhaps get him out of it, how he handles that, but then how he handles the whole hostage negotiation with Clive Owen's character, how he basically runs the investigation. I bought Denzel as a police officer, as a detective, in this story, and I think I don't know if this. I don't think this is one of his greatest performances,
No.
but I think it's solid Denzel. But
Yeah.
it's not. It's not up there with Malcolm X. It's not up there with some of his more signature performances. But
Right.
it's good Denzel.
Right. Right.
Which is probably better than 90% of other actors in Hollywood.
Yeah, yeah, lot better than most. That's for sure. That is
Yeah.
definitely for sure. Just to see what people in the chat are saying. KB says there are four Spike Denzel collabs. I know there's He Got Game. There's this movie Inside
Mo
Man.
Better
There's
Blues.
Malcolm X and Mo Better Blues. And yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that is four. That's all four. All right.
Hmm.
Matthew, okay, I'm going ahead. I'm going to go ahead to order Inside Man. I keep hearing good things about it. I would uh I would recommend it. And Johnny Hassini says, I love that bomb malt liquor bottle from Bamboos will make its reappearance in Inside Man. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. And that is one thing that Spike does in his movies. He will reference his other movies. Um, he does
Yeah.
that. A few directors do that. This it's not a thing unique to him, but he definitely does make references to some of his movies. Now, I think one of the more underrated parts of Spike Lee as a director is his not necessarily his cinematography, but his work with his cinematographers. I think they're
Yeah.
usually very well shot films, especially for the budgets that he typically is working with.
Hmm.
Uh, Now, in this movie, though, I thought there were some parts that were really good and some parts that were kind of shaky. I don't know if
Okay.
you paid attention to the cinematography here. If you did, what did you think of it?
I think. I mean, I need to. Because I'm, like I said, on second watch, but I appreciated certain aspects of it, in terms of, like, when you're looking at like the whole bank robbery situation from the outside, and from the
Hmm.
police officer's perspective, as they have their guns drawn, and the shots from above.
Right.
I thought some of those were pretty effective. um, so I think there were some shots that I thought were pretty good, in this film, but I definitely need to sort of think about some of the rest of the cinematography,
Yeah.
in the
I
movie.
For me, I think it was really the interrogation scenes where they had the people in the
Oh,
station.
Yes, we gotta talk about those. Those were
Yeah. Those well, go ahead. I'll let you go. I'll let you go ahead and talk about those.
yeah, like we talked about humor in the other film.
Hmm.
The thing that surprised me about this movie, and I was not expecting it, was the amount of humor, how funny this movie is. I mean, this movie is very serious in terms of the bank robbery aspect, the heist aspect, and all of that. But there is a lot of, I mean, Spike Lee's putting injecting a good amount of humor in this movie, and a lot of this happening in those interrogation scenes. I really did appreciate several of the scenes. There's one scene with they're interrogating this woman that is
Yeah.
that's attractive and
Hmm.
has appeal to both Denzel and Chiwetel Ejiofor. You sort of just see like their eyes and
Yes. Yes.
where their eyes are going.
Yeah. Yeah.
I I mean, man, that was so well done, and how she kind of picks up on how
Hmm.
they're looking at
Hmm.
her.
Yeah. So that's something, to be honest, when I
That was
first saw it
so
years
well
ago.
done.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that years ago. I picked up on the dialogue of them saying it, but wasn't
Yeah,
really paying attention to what they were doing. So this time when I watched it and I noticed the eyes just kept kind of dropping
kept
down,
going down.
and then they pick them back up. Yeah, I got a good laugh out of that and her
That
response
was
to it.
so well done.
And well, actually, both of them, because there were two women
Yeah, yeah,
at the
the
same.
older woman, and there was the older woman. How they kind of joke with her about, did
Right,
you rob the bank?
right, right, right.
you know, but we talked about Spike Lee collaborating with Denzel a lot. Of course, Terrence Blanchard. Gotta give him props. I really liked his composition of that music that played throughout a lot of the movie.
Hmm.
So I really really like that. Of course, Blanchard's done a good number of Spike Lee's films. Malcolm X, is
Yes.
one of them. Defy Bloods,
Hmm.
um, and a couple of others. So he also did the score for Eve's Bayou,
Yeah.
which is the Casey Lemons film. So Terrence Blanchard is a pretty well known composer and does a lot of great music for a lot of movies. So
Yeah.
and it's that music that really kind of helps to set the tone for the film. So I really enjoyed that.
And this was a little different from a lot of Spike Lee's movies in that sense, because it wasn't really peppered with other types of music. It
Hmm.
wasn't like in a lot of movies. Yes, he'll have a main score, but then there's intermittently hip hop songs being played, and then there's
Yeah,
sometimes classical songs being played, and there's just other music going on throughout the movie. In this movie, it was kind of more straightforward, so to speak,
yep,
as being more heist like, I guess.
yeah.
And I thought it worked. I did want to talk about one other particular shot, and that is what has come to be known as the double dolly shot. And are you familiar with the double dolly shot for Spike Lee?
No, no.
Okay,
What is double
these
dolly
are the
shot?
shots in most of his movie, not every movie, but most of his movies. Well, everyone since I think I want to say since is it since Do the Right Thing? No, not Do the Right Thing. Yeah, maybe since Do the Right Thing or School Days even. But the shot where the character is kind of seems to be floating along.
Oh yeah, yeah. Malcolm X, and they did it in Inside Man too. Yeah, that. Okay, now I know what you're
Yes.
talking about. Yes,
So
where
in
it's like the background's moving. It's
yes.
yeah,
So in it's always meant to be a pivotal moment in the film or just for
yes,
that character. And in this
hmm,
movie, they did it differently than he had usually done it in the past. Whereas this
yeah.
time it was sped up to the nth degree. And I thought that was just a really
It was with
creative choice.
Christopher Plummer's character, right?
No, it
I
was
believe
Denzel's actually
it was
when
Denzel. Okay, okay.
when there is what we thought. well, I'm trying to say it without spoiling it, but Clive Owen's character does something that Denzel's character didn't think he could do or would do,
Hmm.
and then they show him on camera doing it. He asks for them to raise the camera, show the camera, and then he does it. and then Denzel's character, he's taking off for the bank, but that shot is going where the scenery is just kind of flying by him, and then he
Yeah.
shows up at the back door or at the door of the bank,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
getting to him. I thought that was a really great shot. Um, so you said the movie kept you guessing. So what did you think was happening when Jodie Foster's character does pop up eventually?
Yeah, I mean, so Jodie Foster's character is she plays Madeline White. She's like this fixer in New York City for like, the wealthy people. She kind of
Hmm.
helps kind of keep their secret, so to speak, and she's paid handsomely, for her services. So uh, Christopher Plummer is the owner of the bank, as you mentioned. He brings her in. He's like, okay, there's certain secrets I don't want to come out. I have the safe deposit box. I don't want the contents to come out, or else I'll have to, because if they do, I'll have to answer some difficult questions. Um, and so I I liked her character in this film. It was an interesting character that she was playing, and I'm still like processing all the angles that she was working because she was trying to
A lot.
strike a deal with Clive Owen's character. She's trying to
Mhm.
strike a deal with Denzel Washington's character, and I'm still kind of working through, the machinations of what she was trying to arrange. I know she got foiled ultimately, but
Right.
I'm still processing everything that she was trying to do in this movie, and that's why I'm watching it again
Yeah.
because after having watched it, I'm like, wow, what did I just see? In terms of when you get to the end and what transpires, and so now I'm trying to piece together all the breadcrumbs.
Okay.
But I thought she played a really good role. I really enjoyed her interactions with Plummer. I mean, that she's not, that she's you know uh, not fully on the up and up. She's a bit devious,
Yeah.
and it's interesting seeing her play that kind of character. So I really enjoyed her.
Okay. Okay.
I
And
mean, it's a different kind of role than, like, for example, Clarice Starling. I mean,
yeah,
she
definitely
is
a different type of
Jodie
role.
Foster is she is just a fantastic actress.
Yeah. And
She's
interesting you
wonderful.
brought up Clarice in Silence of the Lambs. Because in that movie, she kind of has to grow into what she needs to be as the
Yeah,
movie goes along. Whereas this
yeah,
movie, we meet her fully formed and she knows it
yep,
right from jump. She knows it. There's no doubting herself whatsoever,
yeah.
which I thought was
And there's
very
a really interesting one scene. There's like a scene in this where I think she's walking with who I think is a judge, and they're talking. He's being very polite to her, when there are other people around, and then when they
that's
get
the mayor actually.
or the mayor,
Yeah.
and as soon as they get behind closed doors, like the tone shifts, and he and he starts talking to her, the way he really wants to talk to her. And I was like, oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah. All right. Let me check in and see what people are saying here. Mika, it's going to be great to rewatch it. Definitely is one to rewatch to catch everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matthew, cinematography is just like the soundtrack. It can make or break a movie for me. The worst cinematography in a movie I have watched is Quantum of Solace.
Okay.
Interesting. I've seen Quantum of Solace. I don't remember it having that bad of cinematography. I might have to rewatch it. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's funny. I have not seen Quantum of Solace, and based on what I've heard from a number of people, I'm not apparently missing a whole lot because
No,
that
you're not.
seems to be the least favorite of Daniel Craig's Bond movies.
Yes. Yeah. It's not that good. So Johnny says, "Oh yes, Spike is known for that shot." We're talking about the double dolly shot there.
Yep.
Mika, yes, he does that a lot of that floating shot with Spike, do the right thing, Crooklyn, etc. Crooklyn had another
Yeah.
really interesting use of it. I don't know if you've seen Crooklyn, but
Not all the way through, no.
in that movie, it's actually Spike Lee's character and another character who plays his friend that get that treatment, and they're actually upside down, if I remember correctly. So you'll
Okay.
have to see it to see how that or why that is. It's a great movie though. She's such a great actress, Jodie. She is fully formed in the movie. Yes, she owns that assertiveness in this film. Yes, she does. She
Yeah,
completely owns it. She is. She's gonna speak her mind and say what she wants to say, regardless of who she's talking to.
yeah. And seeing, I mean, it is a treat to see her and Denzel Washington in the same scene together. It's just that's nice.
Yes, yes, or just her and
Seeing
Christopher, or her and Christopher Plummer, even.
Christopher Plummer, seeing Denzel and Christopher Plummer. I
Yeah,
like Christopher Plummer in this film. I mean, I like, the when he comes into the police van and they're giving him a briefing on the situation, and they say, oh, they're demanding a jet,
yeah,
and
yeah.
when he says, oh, well, would you like me to order one for you? And they just sit there silent looking at
Yeah,
him.
that was a great shot. They just kind of all
That
silently.
was
That
like,
that was also a very funny,
yeah,
funny
and
moment.
that's part of the comedy in it that just had me cracked up, man.
uh, was Johnny says, speaking of Jodie, another fantastic film with her is The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane. I'm not familiar with that one. Have you seen that one?
I have not seen it. I think she was probably very young for that one, but I have not seen it. I'm gonna be rewatching Taxi Driver, which of course she
Yeah.
was very young in that
Yes.
one, and because I'm on this '70s film click,
Yeah.
I'm kicked these days. So
Hey, Taxi Driver is a great movie. I need to
mhm,
rewatch it myself. Haven't seen it in a while. I love seeing her and Denzel together. They own the scenery.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely did. And yes, she was James. Okay, so yeah, she was pretty young in
yeah.
The Girl Who Lives Down the Lane. All right, so we've talked about how complex the movie is. Did you ever get to a point where you felt like there were too many moving parts?
Uh, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think this movie, what I appreciate about this movie is just, of course, you mentioned the complexity, but it subverts your expectations, and it surprises you and goes in directions. I don't want to spoil it, but it just goes into some directions that you wouldn't expect, and it it surprises you in terms of, okay, what is Clive Owen, the lead bank robber? What is he after? What is he doing? It's really interesting to see how it plays out and what he ends up doing, and um, how things kind of play out as the movie kind of wraps up. It's like, wow, that was interesting. What
Yeah.
they just pulled off.
Yeah. There are some aha moments when
Yeah, yeah,
when it all gets revealed. There's, oh, that's what you guys were doing. Okay.
yeah,
And
and it kind of harkens back to, like, as you mentioned at that very beginning, when you see Clive Owen on screen and he's giving his little speech. He's laying out a lot of, what he's saying at the beginning is very important.
yes, yes, it is very important. And he says he's never going to repeat himself, but he does repeat himself for the benefit
Hmm.
of the audience, I think. And it works out pretty well.
Yeah.
Uh, Johnny, I'll have to add that to our watch list for this month. Haven't seen that one. And Johnny, her and Martin Sheen. So I guess Martin Sheen is in that movie.
Okay. Oh yeah, the little girl who lives down the lane. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not familiar with that one. I might have to seek that one out and see what's going on there.
Yeah.
'Cause I do like a good Jodie Foster movie.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna go ahead and get ready to wrap this one up. So we're gonna do so, James, with your overall thoughts on Inside Man, and of course, including whether or not you liked it.
Well, I'll say, I mean, I definitely like the movie. This movie surprised me. So when I picked Inside Man, I had to first remind myself, okay, have I seen this? I don't think I had seen it before. And I remember thinking that it was much more of a serious movie. So I was pleasantly surprised with the amount of humor that was in this film. And I really liked how, okay, I'm thinking, wow, I'm watching the Spike Lee movie, but it feels different than any Spike Lee movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it was kind of refreshing. And I was like, okay, you go, Spike. You're doing, this is, you're giving me something different. and I really, really appreciated it. I liked how it kept me guessing in terms of the whole how the bank robbery was going to play out. What's going to ultimately happen with these hostages, with these bank robbers. What is their angle? What are they after? What's going to happen with with Denzel's character? So I really appreciated um, really a lot of aspects of this film in terms of Denzel's performance, the supporting characters, Chiwetel Ejiofor. I really bought their partnership. I like the relationship between him and them and Willem Dafoe's character and the rest of the police, um, and I think that played out really well. Um, and you had a little bit of personal side to Denzel's character with his girlfriend and that connection. So that gave you a little bit more of a flavor of the type of character that he was. But I like Clive Owen's complexity as the lead bank robber. And so I liked a lot of different aspects of the film in terms of the characters. The story kept me engaged, kept me guessing all the way to the end, and definitely made me want to rewatch the movie, which is a pretty good sign that I like the movie enough to want to understand more of what did I miss the first time I watched it. So I definitely liked it and look forward to finishing finish going through it. But there's a lot of different aspects that one can explore with this film in terms of even issues of like class and race, how they're sort
Hmm.
of played out in this movie, in terms of the relationship between Defoe's character and Denzel Washington's character, and so that's definitely some other elements that one could explore in this film. But I really enjoyed it. It's
Okay,
definitely got
good.
a lot to offer, and I mean, a tremendous cast. Denzel Washington, fantastic in this film. You get a young Chiwetel or younger Chiwetel Ejiofor, in an early role for him. I might believe. Willem Dafoe is always great. Christopher Plummer, Jodie Foster, Clive Owen. I mean, what more can I say? A great cast, really interesting story that is not formulaic, surprises you. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Um, you touched on race and class and things like that. One of the big criticisms of Spike Lee is that, yeah, a lot of times he's blunt. He lacks subtlety. I thought
Mhm.
this was probably his most subtle movie when it
Yeah,
comes to those topics. It's there, but it's not
yeah,
the movie.
yep,
And so that's for me. I always call this is the Spike Lee movie for people who don't like Spike Lee movies. So,
yeah. I mean, you hit the nail on the head with that one. Yeah, because like you said, I mean, if you didn't know Spike Lee directed this movie, you wouldn't pick up on it. It doesn't feel like signature Spike Lee. But it does have some of those elements. It does have some of those elements that kind of that you can kind of latch on to know that it's Spike Lee in the sense of the music. The Terrence Blanchard music has that kind of feel to it, and some of the humor that's in there. But it definitely is a bit of a departure from the typical films that he has done. So
right, right. It is definitely that. So let's go ahead and just take a quick run back through the chat. Thank you for everybody who's still here. Thank you
yeah,
for
thank you.
everybody who's uh, been here at all during our time, and anybody
Yeah,
who's going to watch the replay. I appreciate it. Again, subscribe to each other down there in the chat. Subscribe to James at 20th and 21st. Great content, and he's giving us all the time. And again, if you so like what you see here tonight, give me a subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And Johnny says it's on Shutter. I'm thinking he's talking about the little girl who lives down the lane.
yep.
And
I'll look that up.
Mika thanked him for that. Really great cast for Inside Man. Absolutely, it's a phenomenal cast. And great conversation. Thank you, Mika. And KB, yep, he says, "Oh snap, hit the like button." Yes, definitely hit the like button. I really
Yep.
appreciate that. If you would do that on your way out the door, if you didn't do it when you came in. Trini says, "Later, later, Trini. Thanks for
Later,
stopping in,
Trini.
man. Thanks for hanging out."
Yeah, see the little girl who lives down the lane on IMDb in 1976. She plays a 13-year-old girl who lives with her absentee father.
So,
Befriends a disabled teenage amateur magician. Okay.
wow. So
Hmm,
it's 76. Is that the same year as Taxi Driver?
I think so. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, Jodie Foster and Martin Sheen. Okay, I'll have to check it out. Have to check that out.
Yeah, most definitely have to give that a look. All right, James, we come to the part of the show where I'm going to turn the stage over to you completely and let you go ahead and let us know what you have coming up on your channel or anything else that you want to tell us about.
All right, well, Dell, hey, I really do appreciate you having me again. Thank you. This is a lot of fun. I enjoy talking about both of these movies and love this series that you have, going on. Of course, I'm James. My channel is 20th and 21st Movies here on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram at 20th and 21st. Cover a lot of Criterion Collection content. I'm looking forward to, I think on Thursday, I've got a stream plan where I'm going to cover some of my favorite 70s movies, kind of part one of a two-part series. So I'll be doing that on Thursday. And then on Friday, I plan to put out a review of a film that our friend Tim at Tim Talks Talkies will appreciate. It's a review of this film here from Criterion, It's Glare, Summertime, starring Katharine Hepburn, David Lean film. So I plan to put out a review of this film here, if I can get rid of the glare. But anyway, this 1955 film. But yeah, so that's what we like to cover, on the channel, all things cinema, classic, and contemporary films. Thanks for having me,
Oh,
Dell.
absolutely. Now, I had Tim on Movie Swap pretty early, actually, and
Yeah.
I watched Summertime,
Oh, okay. Well,
and
there you go.
I did enjoy it. So if you haven't seen that one, check that one out. Maybe after you watch the movie though. But
Yeah.
I did enjoy that film. Johnny's was once again amazing show. Love the Swap series. I appreciate it, Johnny, and thank you for coming out every week and supporting. Really appreciate that. As for what's going on this channel, I will have next week. I'll be back on Monday again. It's usually a Tuesday series, but I'll be back on Monday again. I will have Derek, Convicted Cinephile, will be on here.
Cool.
So we're gonna talk a couple of fun movies next week, and tomorrow I will be over on Bob's Blu-rays on his channel. He's starting up his steel books and slipcovers tournament again. I'm gonna
Nice.
be on the steelbook side. I
Okay.
think he just drafted me because he needed somebody to finish last. So I'm gonna go have some fun with that. And for
Oh
the
yeah.
next few weeks, he's gonna be doing that on Tuesday. So I'm gonna kind of step
Nice.
aside and move over to Monday and stay out of the way of that. So
Okay.
for a few weeks, and who knows if by some chance I advance in that tournament, I'll be back on that on the 23rd. So
There you go.
we'll see
Good
how
luck
that
with that.
goes.
Yeah. Good
My
luck, man.
Yeah, my next thing is I'm planning on doing at least one video before the weekend is through anyway, because I skipped out on March, so I've got to tell everybody what I've watched in March and April. Now that we're into May,
Yeah. Oof.
so yeah,
Years
time is going
flying
by
by.
really fast. It's crazy.
If you
uh,
blink, it'll be Christmas.
I'm telling you. Mika says she's loving the series. Nerdy Film Girl just pops in. She says, "Hey everyone, was
Hey,
working, but I
Tracy.
watched the replay. Thank you. I appreciate it, Tracy." And Johnny says, "Hey," and also say bye at the same time because that's all I have for you guys this time. I will catch you on the next one. Thanks again to my guest James, and look forward
Thank
to
you, Dell.
seeing you all next